Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. This is the brother Yakana from the GMS Houston camp, and this is just a quick lesson going into identifying the Wh0r, or Babylon the Great, or the U.S. or America. You know, the earlier are spiritual names or code words for the U.S. or America. You're not going to outright see, you know, America or the United States in the scriptures, but you're given hints. And if you have the eyes to see, you can see it. You can see by the behavior, see spiritually. So this, I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. This is Revelation chapter 17, and this is in the KJV. Which I'll just read in the KJV just for time's sake. It says Revelation 17 and verse 1, and it says the woman on the beast. And so the woman represents America, Babylon the Great, that great whore, and the beast that the woman is riding on represents NATO and the EU. These different European countries that were these would also represent the the feet and the toes in the in Daniel the second chapter. Verse 1, and there came one of the seven angels which had seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. And the point being here was that sitteth upon many waters, meaning that America has control pretty much of the majority of the waters and the majority of the trade around the world. So I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So they were all these nations, following after the beast, after this whore. They're all drunk, through what this whore has put out, through the cup that this whore has. Her philosophies like LGBTQism, feminism, capitalism, the banking systems, things like that, so on. So I'm gonna jump down. I believe to verse 15, and he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. So that being the point, that the whore is sitting, controlling all the trade. Matter of fact, if we go to chapter 18, I'm going to jump down chapter 18 and verse 11. I'm going to get this, the hell am I? And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth her merchandise any more. And the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones, and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet, and all thine wood, and all manner of vessels of ivory, and all manner of vessels of precious wood, and of brass, and of iron, and marble, and cinnamon, and odors, and ointments, and frankincense, and wine, and oil, and fine flour, and wheat, and beasts, and sheep, and horses, and chariots, and slaves, and souls of men. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. But, as a matter of fact, the next verse, the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. So, this is a place where all the merchants, through Babylon's, sorcery and witchcraft, are all coming here to sell their wares. And what's happening now with the Strait of Hormuz and different things like that, with this shutdown, with the U.S. playing a part or playing a huge role in this, it's um, affecting trade. But this is the place here. This is the hub. The U.S. doesn't want, or Babylon doesn't want, you know you to go anywhere else to make money or to trade or anything like that. He wants it all flowing here, and so it's showing the influence and all this stuff. The people came to make their money here because this was the place to make money, because this is the place that it pretty much made it to where it was very difficult to make money anywhere outside of them. I'll say it like that. This is I typed in just a few things in Google. I said, "Is U.S. actions driving up inflation worldwide? The United States' economic policies and actions have significantly contributed to global inflationary pressures, primarily through large-scale fiscal stimulus, expansive monetary policy, and trade policies that have caused global supply chain disruptions." So this whore that sitteth upon many waters is influencing, all these, different things, influencing inflation. Recent analyses indicate that the U.S. actions U.S. actions have had a direct impact on rising prices worldwide, with several key factors. And this is all part of the things to push the globe further into the NWO. So large scale fiscal stimulus, and also this driving inflation. What's going to happen is the dollar is going to be done away with. There's going to be digital money all the way up into that an implant put in your hand or in your head, which Lord willing I'll get to it. So, well, during the 2021, that's fine. It's talking about C-19, that shut down. The world was already, China shut down, all these kind of things, but the world didn't shut down until the U.S. coughed, showing that the U.S. has control or influence over world trade. And the same thing now today. Expansionary monetary policy, the Federal Reserve's approach. I'm sorry. During the 2021-23 period, the U.S. enacted C-19 relief packages, which, while strengthening the domestic recovery, significantly boosted global demand for goods and contributed to inflationary pressures. One analysis found that U.S. enacted the second largest fiscal stimulus of any country. Expansionary monetary policy, the Federal Reserve's approach in the wake of the pandemic, which involved keeping interest rates low, was a major driver of global demand. Trade policies and tariffs, the imposition of U.S. tariffs, which have been raised, to 15% on many imports, continue to act as a significant driver of price increases worldwide. So those tariffs and whatnot, even though the tariffs, those really affect, us here, because we have to pay for it, and all the other countries have to do is just raise their prices, but we here pay for that. It affects us. It really affects everybody, but it affects us. Tight labor markets, the tight U.S. labor market featuring a high vacancy to unemployment ratio, and all the jobs are being replaced by AI. You know, the global impact of U.S. actions alongside other global disruptions resulted in a 2021 through 23 global inflation spike of 9.1%. As of early 2026, inflationary pressures continue to be a factor, with organizations like OECD warning of continued high tariffs. Additionally, ongoing conflict in which the U.S. foreign policy plays a central role is expected to keep energy prices high, raising inflation and threatening economic growth globally. So this whore Babylon has influence over all this stuff, and their actions, pay a direct, or or have a direct result on on global markets. So how is I put in here? How is Hormuz affecting Mexico? Because the U.S. their actions and what they did, what's going on right now is shutting down. Which I'm not sure if it's back open as of right now. Because you'll hear news saying it's open, it's closed, we won, they lost, they gave up, and meanwhile there's still conflict going on. But how is how is Hormuz affecting Mexico? Because this strait is affecting pretty much everything around the world. In the last week or two, gas prices have jumped $1. I'm looking at I'm looking at it right now. It's 3.89. Gas prices have gone up a lot in the last few days, and they're not going to go back down anytime soon. The tension and potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz, driven by conflict involving Iran, is impacting Mexico primarily through heightened oil prices, increasing maritime shipping costs, and risks to energy-intensive industries. While Mexico does not heavily depend on oil imports from that region, the global ripple effect threatens to increase inflation and logistics costs. So, uh, rising oil and fuel prices that's happening in Mexico. Following military escalations, the price of Mexican crude reached its highest level in 8 months. While higher crude prices can benefit federal revenues, they also translate to higher fuel costs for consumers. So there's higher fuel costs for consumers because this is dealing with Mexico right now. But even though, because what's happening in Mexico right now is pushing in, they're using the events that's happening to push a further agenda, right? Don't let a good crisis go to waste. So, and really, when these different you have the 2030 agenda, which you have whatnot, right? And then you have that the things that they want to get done by 2030. A crisis will help accelerate what's happening. So, increased shipping and supply chain costs. Shipping vessels are facing longer routes, with some cargo needing to bypass the conflict zone, leading to higher freight rates similar to those seen during global pandemics. This affects the cost of importing goods and exporting products. Industrial impact. Uh, let's see the next tab because it doesn't really say, it don't really connect the dots like that. Here I put mandatory Mexico, mandatory digital payments indirectly affected by Strait of Hormuz. It says based on 2026 reports, Mexico is implementing mandatory digital payments. So they're getting rid of cash in certain areas, like at the fuel pumps. So higher gas prices at the fuel pumps. You need gas, even if it's high, you still need gas, but you're not going to be able to pay cash. You know, so particularly at gas stations and toll booths. So, and then a lot of that's already happened here. While you can still use gas at the gas stations, but the toll booths here, hey, you got to have at least here in Texas, you got to have Easy Tag. You just can't throw the coins in the thing anymore. If you don't have the Easy Tag, they're gonna send you something in the mail. So, particularly at gasoline stations and toll booths, driven by the administration of President Claudia Sheinbaum, to modernize the financial system and reduce cash usage, because cash is looking to be obsolete. And this isn't just one country over here, while another country over there. No, this is a global thing that's happening, and it's happening, under your noses. What's going to happen is the cash is going to go digital. There might be a major crash, because how long can this last? There might be a major crash, whatever. There is going to be a major crash. The dollar is going to be out the window. It's going to go digital, but then you're going to have the implant. And they say, and the usage, the reason why they say all this, it says, while these policies are internally driven to curb tax evasion and enhance transparency. So this is the idea. The reason why we're going digital is so you can't evade taxes. So you can't. So you have to be transparent. all your everything, all your invoices, everything like that. You can pull it up easy. No cash payments, no under the table, no non-taxable income. No, we was looking at everything. Showing you the mindset of this devil. He wants he wants everything and then some. And they'll use like things like this. Oh, tax evasion, criminals. When they're the criminals. But it says impact of potential Hormuz disruption on Mexico's digital mandate, the fuel price volatility, a crisis in the Strait of Hormuz, a key oil transit point, can lead to supply chain disruptions and higher energy costs. As Mexico moves to make digital payments mandatory at gas stations, consumers and businesses may feel the pinch of higher prices in real-time digital transactions, which are meant to replace cash payments, often uses smaller undocumented transactions. An accelerated digital push, the push for electronic transactions managed by SAT, is partially aimed at combating tax evasion, increasing cost volatility due to global events. Due to increased cost volatility due to global events, could accelerate the push for transparent digital-only transactions to ensure precise tracking of increased revenues. So it's under they're using this to push the agenda further, using this to accelerate it. Get it in there faster. This devil knows he has a short time. So this is Revelation chapter 6, and this is in the NLT, and I'm going to jump down verse 4. It says, "Then another horse appeared, a red one." So this horse, represents power, and this red horse represents Esau, Edom. Its rider was given a mighty sword. So a mighty sword being weaponry. Keep in mind, Esau's blessing was the sword and the fatness of the earth. And how would he get the fatness of the earth? Meaning the best resources, the best places to live, oil, everything. How would he get this? By his sword. So he has literal swords, guns, laser weapons, his speech, his tongue, his diplomacy, his policies, his trade, his tactics. Everything pretty much Esau uses, everything that Esau uses, the Most High gave him to use as a weapon. So everything that Esau, Edom comes into contact with, really, if he can't use that as a weapon, is useless to him. So, then another horse appeared, a red one. Its rider was giving a mighty sword and the authority to take peace from the earth. So this is a Esau, Edom. You see the Strait of Hormuz. You see their actions. You see this whore sitting upon many waters. Hey, this whore is given the Esau, Edom is given the power to take peace from the earth. And there was war and slaughter everywhere. Is this not what's happening now? And is it not going to increase? World War III is here. Hey, the other nations are going to jump in. They're going to join in. Russia's going to eventually join in. But still, more things have to happen. Prophecy has to play out. Let me see here. I'm going to jump down here. Oh, I'm sorry, I went too far. Oh, the next verse 5. So this devil, they given the power to take peace from the earth. And the next horse that comes, it says, when the Lamb broke the third seal, I heard the third living being say, "Come." I looked up and saw a black horse, and its rider was holding a pair of scales in its hand, so representing the judgment that's coming. This horde is taking peace from the earth. So, and this taking peace from the earth, like this devil, this is driving up prices. This is driving up all kinds of prices: gas prices, fuel prices, same thing, food prices. It's driving up everything. It's driving up trade. So again, I looked up and saw a black horse, and its rider was holding a pair of scales in its hand. And I heard a voice from among the four living beings say, a loaf of wheat bread, or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay. And when you looking into that, that's going into hyperinflation. Right now, we're in inflation stages. But when you start seeing hyperinflation, if right now, let's say that the gas is 389, say the gas will jump up to, instead of 389, it'll jump up to $5, and then it'll jump up to 7, 8, 7 or 8. It'll keep rising up, and this is all on the same day, the same hour, whatnot. And so also it says a loaf of wheat bread or 3 loaves of barley will cost a day's pay, meaning that your entire paycheck pretty much is going to be going into it, into buying food or whatever it may be. Pretty much you're not going to be getting by on what you used to get by. So and peace is taken from the earth, and this is driving up the cost of living. So I put in here, is the U.S. influencing peace in the world? It says the United States, and now keep in mind, you got to use discernment because these different platforms, Google, all this stuff, this is all Esau's technology. It's gonna big him up. It's gonna protect him when you're using, the AI, all that stuff. And you got to keep in mind, it's gonna defend its master, pretty much. So the United States significantly influences global peace through military, economic, and diplomatic efforts. And this is how they say this is peace, by destroying everything. So though opinions on whether this impact is positive are deeply divided. Globally, 61% view the U.S. as contributing to peace, with arguing that peace through strength ensures stability against global threats. So peace through strength, meaning, yeah, we achieve peace by beating the shit out of you. Peace through strength ensures stability against global threats, such as in Poland. However, some polls indicate that many, particularly in Europe, view the U.S. as a potential threat to the world. Now, that's also looking at shoot. Let's go back to that because it says Europe, a NATO and the EU. That's all part of Europe, but or that's all a part of the beast. That's all that. But all these nations, especially Europeans, because they say they're a threat to peace. They hate the Wh0r. So you're a threat. So here we're gonna get this. This is Revelation chapter 17 and verse 16. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the Wh0r, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So ultimately, they're going to shoot ICBMs, MIRVs, every nation that has nuclear arms. They're going to shoot their arrows on Babylon the Great and destroy this place with thermonuclear destruction. Also, Yahushua is going to be here. The angel is going to be here, destroying this place with the concentrated fire from the chariots. So, again, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the Wh0r, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. For the Most High hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree, and to give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai shall be fulfilled. So they're going along with this, for the time being, even though they hate the Wh0r, even though they're saying this place is the U.S. is a direct threat to peace. So and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. Let me type that in real quick. Let's see what Google says. It's going to say no, of course not, silly. What? What? No. It says the U.S. does not legally or directly rule over the earth, but it acts as the world's preeminent military and economic superpower. It maintains massive global influence through hundreds of military bases, a dominant economy, and alliances rather than direct territorial rule over other nations. So, I mean, you see right there, I ain't really going to read it. I'm not going to, you can pause the video, look at it. I'm going to go back to this. Where was I? So back to this, is the U.S. influencing peace in the world? Says, historically, the U.S. has mediated major conflicts such as Camp David Accords, the Good Friday Agreement. It employs coercive diplomacy, leveraging military and economic power to forge agreements. So let's look here what that means. Coercive diplomacy. It says coercive diplomacy is the use of threats, limited force, or economic sanctions to persuade an opponent to stop or undo an unwanted action. It operates between peaceful persuasion and full-scale war, utilizing strategies like ultimatums and carrots and sticks to compel compliance. Key tools include diplomatic pressure backed by military or economic leverage. Damn. I mean, that just sounds. Anyway, compellence, forcing an actor to take action. Deterrence, preventing an actor from taking action. So, yeah, hey, looking at this right here, I might go through all of them, but looking at it right here, how the U.S. is acting through, how to say, coercive peace. As the U.S. supposedly wants peace, but how are they doing that? What did they do? They attacked Iran. They killed their leaders. What did Iran do? It says forcing an actor to take action. They forced Iran to take action. What did Iran do? Shut down the strait. What was the result of that? Global prices have gone up. That's pretty much it. And now if it continues, guess what? These things will continue to rise. All the way to the point, hey, more things are going to happen. More things are going to shut down. It's going to get worse. That loaf of bread for a day's pay has to happen. You people have to feel the hurt. You got to feel the hurt to where you're going to hold your hand out and ask for relief. And looking at here, I put in here coercive peace. It says coercive peace or coercive peacemaking refers to imposing a cessation of hostilities through strong external pressure, threats, or military force rather than voluntary negotiation. It combines top-down, third-party military intervention with diplomatic mediation, often aiming to create quick stability rather than long-term conflict resolution. It says it is a form of conflict management that links negotiations to military. So either you're going to comply or we're going to beat the shit out of you. We're going to fuck you up. It says, I ask here, is coercion giving or taking peace? Because, hey, it's not going to, Esau's bullshit ain't going to directly tell you. So what do you got to do? You got to be, smarter than Esau. Here it is. This nigga is, you sub-Saharan, dark-skinned people, all you people are the lowest IQs, all this kind of stuff or whatever, but you can't answer a question. You can't answer a question straight up, So here, coercion is the act of forcing someone to act against their will through threats, manipulation, or pressure, and it inherently takes away peace. So how is the U.S. acting? It's taking peace from the earth. It's taking away peace by doing this, by coercion, by different types of manipulation, through sorcery, through witchcraft, through wickedness. It removes free will and true consent, replacing safety with fear, obligation, or guilt, rather than fostering genuine harmony. Coercion is considered harmful and not a respectable choice. When coercion takes place, it destroys consent. Coercion is not consent, but rather it is when someone forces a yes through pressure, such as emotional blackmail or threats. It creates fear and anxiety. which really I want to focus on that point right there. It destroys consent because everybody, yeah, you're gonna go along with this. I had that Trump quote, but I ain't even got to go to it. Um, Shoot, right here, Revelation chapter 13 and verse 16, going into the mark. What was that? It's at the top. It says, in the NIV, it says, it also forced all people, great and small, and this is speaking of the whore, all part of this new world order, this revived Roman Empire structure that's being set up. It says it also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark, and that mark is charagma. It's an implant, the microcia. It's going to have all your information, your biometrics, your name, phone number, address, banking information, and whatever else. It'll be able to tell uh, your mood, all that kind of stuff by your blood pressure. It's gonna do all that. But if you take it, hey, you're gonna be destroyed here. Especially if you're here in Babylon the Great and you take this, you're gonna be destroyed. It says it forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or in their forehead. So you have things like Neuralink, all kinds of companies out there that are doing brain implants and BCIs and stuff like that. So let me see here. I'll just finish it out in the NIV. Verse 17. So that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of his name, which that's not. Let me get the KJV. Let me see what the NLT says actually. It says he required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead, and no one could buy or sell anything without that mark, which was either the name of the beast or the number representing his name, but it's literal mark. It's not. Again, these translations are good, but they don't always hit the. Let's see what the. Oh, I'm too far. I'm in the commentary. I'm in the footnotes. This is Revelation 13 and 17 in the AMP. It says, and that no man and no one and that no one will be able to buy or sell except the one who has the mark. Okay, it's still the same. Let's see. Let's get the KJV. The KJV, it says, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name or the number or the name of the beast or the number of his name. But it's going into the microchip. You're not going to be able to buy or sell anything, but it's leading up to this point. And it's through the manipulating, the different markets and different, how to say, the waters. Through the manipulation, the global manipulation is driving up these prices. It's going to drive it to the point to where if you're not rooted and settled in this truth, you're going to be having your hand out begging for that mark to try to get some relief. And how he's doing it is going to be through coercion. So I'm going to close out with this. This is Revelation 3 and verse 10. And I'll just get into KJV. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation. So you kept this word. You kept you've guarded this word, closely guarded this word. The sufferings of Yahushua, all this thing, the entire book. You held this close, and in that care, Yahushua will also protect you. And when the time to come, I also will keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So this is coming. This is coming quick. Like it's at the doors, and they giving the warning, showing, identifying who this whore is. You know who's doing all this. You know who's who. Who should we be watching out for? You know, watching out for Esau Edom, the whore. Who's taking away peace from the earth? Hey, this devil is being identified. But hey, that's, let me see if I don't. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Hey, Lord willing, this has been edifying. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Ba'ashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. Hey, Shalom.